What is happening, guys? Welcome back to another Tekken 8 training arc video, the video series where I am documenting my Tekken 8 journey, and hopefully I can help some beginners along the way. Now today I want to talk about defense in Tekken 8. Now this is not going to be an optimal Jun guide, because as you can see I'm playing Jun because I want to show you something specifically that she could do above maybe other members of the cast or in this particular situation. But the reason why we should be improving our defense is to objectively just make our offense even much better. It's gonna be scarier when, you know, people can't get in on you, they can't reduce your HP, and on top of that, you know exactly what to do against their offense. However, defensive playstyles calls for you to know a lot of character options and what the options your opponent has available to them. So it's not a case where it's a one size fits all when you decide to be more defensively, but you're gonna have to get much more intimate knowledge of the entire cast on a whole. But there are some mechanics and universal mechanics that will help you out, especially where Tekken 8 is catered towards offense. You're going to have a better time if you learn what your defensive tools are and what you can potentially set out to do. So first things first, we've got a multitude of moves that I set up for Brian in order for him to do, so we could talk about what exactly makes defense so good. So what is the purpose of defense? Why are you defending yourself? Well, first of all, you're trying to protect your HP, and secondly, you're trying to protect your position. Now you see what Brian is doing here. By me just blocking, I'm not even holding back, that was just the natural block that Tekken has. But if I'm holding block, we're going back even further, and now Brian has me in the corner. Now this is the worst situation you could be in a multitude of fighting games, because being in the corner is basically free, you know, like there's much less space that I can move out, although I could just move out of the corner. This is a defensive tool. Sidestepping away from moves is defensive play, because essentially you're trying to get away from these fists. And with this move in particular, you could just sidestep Brian's whole string here. Can't do it to the, what direction would that be? Can't do it to the left, but if you do it to the right, you could actually get it. However, not all the time it's not always a good option that every time you see a move you're just trying to sidestep away, even though it's something that's available, because right from this move, you see, once again I'm in the corner, feel very limited. The pressure is much stronger than what it would be if we were just more so in a neutral position. However, if it is that you can step away from that string, then of course you would be in a much better position to get a punish and of course get to work if you're a Jun main or whatever character you play. Now, of course, blocking is still beneficial, because this particular frame is leaving us on +6 on block. So this string is not all too scary because we've got options. We could come out, we could grow, we could throw it, we could actually retaliate with a fast move of ours and then get into what it is that we want to do exactly. Now that's just one string. Now because of this string's tightness, I don't necessarily think that I can do the punish accurately. So we can see the first hit is 10 frames into a 12 frame hit into 19. So it's a very tight string. There's little gaps in between, and overall it's not something that you may get the opportunity to punish as best as you can. However, you don't have to block and just wait for your opponent to forever be minus to get back into that situation. But of course you've got to be aware, and if you're playing a character like Jun who has her parries, then well, it's even better, because now you legit could come back because of that defensive option that you have available to you. However, there is a time when the next set of defensive options comes in, which is that mini movement known as crouching. Now the lovely thing about Tekken is that most moves can be accessed from a while rising position. Now most people would call it while standing, because that they don't want to mix up the WR with while rising. The game refers to it as while rising. I'll refer to it as while rising here, but if some people understand it while standing, then you do that. So this is Jun's normal 3. It's a mid, and it, you know, basically it's a nice get off tool. Nice poke to just get you away. If you see somebody approaching you, just kick them away. But it transforms when Jun is rising. So it's a nice launcher. Coming from the crouch, you let go of holding down, and immediately her 3 becomes a launcher. So that's why in this string, you could see that we could actually take advantage of that. Now notice this string is not as tight as the first one, which was 10, 12, 19. This is actually 17, 19, 25. So there's a reasonable gap inside there where we can actually take advantage of punishing Brian in a much more effective position. I mean, it still leaves him at negative 10 on block. So we're at a position where, okay, damn, we could move with Jun. It's not a case where it's so heavily demanding that we punish him, but the distance is enough where they may get to block. So what are your options here? Well, remember we spoke about ducking. Now ducking will take you out. You see, Jun is not even being affected by the fact that my man is trying to go high. But ducking can't even duck down because the mid will hit you. I mean, it's literally like you're putting your face in the position for Brian's foot. So what you want to do in these positions, and of course this is why defense heavily relies on you having knowledge of a plethora of characters and what their strings like. Jun, remember that wild rising 3 that we spoke about a while ago, is 14 frames. So while rising, you could get a nice launcher for 14 free frames. Now, what do we do with that information? So we see that this string is high, high, mid. Meaning, if we block the first hit, we can duck. We duck it, and then we're in that crouching position. What can we do from here? Now, we could just not do anything and just avoid that, I guess, especially if he's in heat. You don't want that chip damage coming at you, but what you can do is because Jun was given enough time to do that. You don't want to just autopilot into holding back all the time, because remember, we're also trying to defend our space. And yes, you could sidestep, you could look for other variety of options, but I think this punish is much better, considering you could just guard the first hit, and you could just interrupt it like with anything else. There's also the fact that Jun has moves on other characters have these plethora of moves that would move their body around. So essentially, learning how to move your hurt box out of the way is one of the best defensive tools that you can do. So you see, these highs won't get to Jun simply because of, well, the distance, and on top of that, the way Jun is positioned when Brian is looking to use that move. But of course, I think my favorite punish out of all of this is the fact that you could just block first hit, and then you get to punish by getting low, right? I'm just messing it up right now, but block high, and then you just get to work. I'm not a Jun main, so I don't have no optimal punishes for you to see. But essentially, what you've got to do is become much more aware of how to utilize crouching at a much better rate. Because one time there, we don't even have to go into the launcher. We could just interrupt the string, because it's given us enough time. But optimally, you would want to block that and then go there. And there are other characters that could do this, but Jun just has that fast launcher that I was just thinking would immediately benefit the point that I'm trying to bring across. Now we've got everybody's loved talk about defensive option in Tekken, which is low parrying. So here we have set Brian to just come at us with a simple kick. Now, here's what you could do against lows. You could just, down back to block it. And that would leave us at a plus 12 situation. And then we could, potentially come in there. Fastest frame moves. And to try to take advantage of the fact that Brian is negative. However, what happens is that we can also low parry. Now, low parrying is good. But what you have to know about low parrying is that you significantly lose a lot of wall carry potential, as well as your damage essentially gets cut in half. So here's a punish. Well, here's a simple string that I did from Jun after low parrying, right? So we low parry, and this is just her 3+4. 3-hit combo, 21 damage. Now, had I just blocked, this is the damage of that regularly, 41 damage. So it's a case where you've got to recognize that, yes, wall carrying is reduced significantly because of that. The combo damage is significantly reduced because of low parrying. And now you're in a situation where, okay, necessarily, is it that beneficial if you want to take back the game? Yes, it is. But it's wise to know when to use low parrying. Especially if you're low on health, a lot of people will rush in and, you know, you're getting up from maybe a rage art or so. And the first thing they want to do is come at you and hit you with that low, because that possibly is just enough to take you out. But in situations like that, you'd really want to just come in and get to a nice situation, like you're losing momentum, you take back the game. Now, low parrying is also very generous, because here's what I'm going to show you. This is me just low parrying at the exact moment. I'm waiting for Brian's kick to come out and I low parry immediately. Now, the good thing about it is that low parrying is actually very lenient with how long you can hold the input. I think it's about 19 frames. So this was me holding on that input way before he even started his animation on the kick. So this is me just doing it like a good distance away. This is me immediately reacting to it. Now, you may want to get better at the immediate reactions, because holding that down forward for a period, you see Jun is slowly approaching, she's walking. I'm not sure if this is because of pad, but holding that down forward is causing Jun to proceed forward. Therefore, you may mess up your low parry moment, and you don't want that to happen. Now, this is a move that was cooking me online, so this is why I was actually using this particular recording of Brian. This move is one of Brian's best moves. It's essentially a combo starter. Brian's use this online and they go into it immediately. Now, let me tell you the truth about this move. This move is very slow. It is 30 frames. There's no way you should actually be getting, you know, hold by that, because it's definitely reactable. However, look at that. So we just discussed the ability to take the game back by low parrying. And of course, we know that the damage on low parry is significantly reduced. Could estimate about roughly 50% damage cost because of the scaling of low parry, right? Now, a move like that is that slow, it may not be beneficial to use low parry all the time, because you can get a much better punish by blocking. This move is literally negative 26 on block. You can do whatever you want from that move with Jun or whoever you're punishing Brian against, you know, whoever you're playing. It's much more beneficial if you just simply block these moves. So defensive play is all about situational awareness and understanding which moves in particular you actually want to get, you know, punished effectively. You don't want to just low parry everything because you could low parry, because that's a damage nerf, and of course the wall carry potential is not there. And remember, in defensive play, aside from your health, you're also trying to protect your spacing. You're trying to keep yourself within a distance from you yourself and your opponent at which you can feel comfortable moving around, especially in Tekken where you've got the opportunity to move in that third dimension. It's definitely something that you want to be aware of. Now, the last recording is something that people do all the time. When you're low, you just go straight into the rage art. Now, this is something you want to avoid doing as often, because this is really good. Like, rage art is a comeback tool for a reason. It is there to, you know, basically turn the tide of the battle, and you get 55 damage off of it. Now, if somebody blocks your rage art, you're basically screwed. You could get thrown. Somebody could just possibly launch you if it is, but some moves will not be fast enough to punish it. But who knows? It might just be a situation where your opponent might try to mash out of it. It's like, oh damn, I whiffed the rage art. They might do something. And you may just have the ability to come back right there. But essentially, you don't want to waste rage art because of how free it is. I've had a couple of matches where I was essentially about to win, and my opponent just looked at me coming in, knowing that they could take at least one hit of what I'm about to do from my respective string and just completely take the match back by using rage art in that time. Now, you don't want to become rage art dependent, because it's especially annoying if in the first round that you're doing the rage art and then all of a sudden you come to realize that the opponent knows that you're going to rage art whenever you're low, and then in the second round you're down to a rage art and you do it again because they already predicted that you would do that. So guys, that's just some of the few defense, strengthening your offense, potential that I had to talk about. Obviously, I have a lot more to learn about defense in this game, but those are some of the few options that you can use. Remember to ensure that you are protecting your space, understanding what strings you could potentially benefit from just ducking out of, and punishing accordingly, because not everything is going to be a case where you just have to hold back. Remember, you want to protect your space, be dominant enough to say that, nah, you're not just going to keep pushing me back to the wall. And of course, this changes per stage because some stages are bigger than others, some stages are smaller than others. So it's got to be a case where you have to be aware of what you can do. Defense is always about knowing what options your opponent has and taking advantage of them to the best of your abilities. But guys, that is all I wanted to talk to you today about. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you could learn something. Comment below what's another defensive strategy that people use or that beginners such as myself can work on when getting better at Tekken 8. I'll see you guys in a next video, but until then, stay gaming.